So good afternoon, everyone. My name's Caroline Logan. I'm the Programme Director for BuildForce. Delighted today to be opening up on the very hot, sunny Dorset day, but I'm not going to complain. I promised I wouldn't complain. So welcome to our autumn season of our virtual career chats. And we kick off with Defence, Facilities Management, VIVO. So sit back. I hope your feet are maybe in a bucket of ice, an ice pop in hand, whatever is your thing, but sit back and enjoy. Over to you, Angela.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the BuildForce Virtual Chat. I'm Angela Forbes, and it's a pleasure to welcome you, so thank you for dialing in. Now, today we welcome VIVO Defence. So this joint venture provides maintenance and FM services across the defence estate. Now, VIVO prides themselves on their alignment of the military's code and culture and practices to be the MOD's partner of choice. So this is a great soft landing for those of you going through resettlement. So today we are interested to hear more about the career opportunities and more about the organisation itself. So to that end, our speakers today are Jamie McDonald, so he's Customer Experience Director, Rachel McGowan, Head of Learning and Development. We hear from Dan Riley, the Talent Acquisition Manager, and we've got two veterans sharing their insights. We've got Kenwyn Hughes, Built Estates Manager, and Alex McRae, who you will recognise, our much loved Alex, our Technical Compliance Manager. So we'll take questions at the end. Feel free to write comments in the box. And without further ado, we'll hand over to Jamie McDonald to commence our chat, and we'll switch our cameras off. Jamie.
Thank you very much. What an intro. So I've got my cold drink. But I'm Jamie. I'm VIVO's Director for Customer Experience. My job is to make sure that as a business, we work towards and achieve our two service missions, which is customer first in the built estate, so the FM world, and families first for the families in their homes. And delighted to be on this call. We're a very new business and we're growing like mad. So we need talent. We need really good people to join the business. And for me, the benefit of veterans is threefold. And I was with some of our veterans yesterday down in Blandford. You've got your normal vocational professional skill, so whatever your day job is, but you bring that military magic, that discipline and focus and drive. And then thirdly, you know the estate, you know the culture, the jargon, the language and the vibe. So for us, veterans play a really important role, and we need some more. Saying that, though, I think I'm the least interesting person on this call because the veterans have got a story to tell. So my job here is to do a bit of scene setting in terms of two things, really, what we do and how we do it. I've just got two slides to help me do that. As has been said, though, we're a joint venture, so we're half owned by Equans and half by Serco, two very big organisations. They leave us alone to crack on, but we get huge support, backing and encouragement from our two parents. We were formed 4 years ago to bid for and win work for the MOD. That's all we do. We're dedicated to the MOD in the worlds of maintaining and fixing and constructing stuff. More of that later. Although we're 4 years old, we only started trading a year and a half ago in February 2022. So we're very new. We've grown very quickly. A year and a half ago, we did nothing. We're now the MOD's largest provider of estate services, turnover approaching 750 million a year. So it's been breakneck, really exciting, really intense. And we're now looking to stabilise what we're doing. So in terms of what we do, one simple slide. What we do at the moment, three broad things. So first of all, two contracts on the UK built estate. So this is hard FM. And we run two regions, Central and Southwest. It's a 7+3 term, which means if we do well, if we add value, we get 10 years contract, so 8.5 to go. So VIVO's a long-term safe bet. And in those two regions, we look after just over 20,000 buildings, barracks and single living spaces. So it's a high volume operation. The core value, so that's the basic money we get for maintaining those, is worth 1.2 billion over 7 years. The real value, though, is in the extra stuff, what's called billable work. So these are the projects to upgrade and build new, and that's worth 3 billion over 7 years. So build estate in isolation would be a big, weighty business, and it's all around hard FM and commercial upgrades. Second strand is accommodation. Again, we're on two regions there, Southwest and Southeast, also 7+3. That started 3 months after, so that's got a bit longer to go. Just over 28,000 military homes of varying degrees of age. We're 300 in terms of core value and 350 in billable. So you can see quite a weighty business. And the third strand currently is for the US visiting forces, so mainly the US Air Force out of 11 RF locations across England. And that's both things. So on USVF, we've got both the build to state activity, but also accommodation. Different contract, that's a 3+2, and that started, I think, 10 months ago. 1,000 buildings, you can see the values there. All in all, we look after just over 50,000 buildings, which sounds frightening. And our overall contract value is significant. We are by far the MOD's largest provider. The next one to go live is the Defence Science and Tech Laboratories at Porton Down. They start in December, and there's more after that. So our aim is to diversify and grow, but it's all within the UK defence estate. That's our sweet spot. That's where we found a mark. In terms of how it's going and what we're doing, built estate, very stable, going well, very mature market in a good place. No secret that accommodation had quite a troubled birth. It's quite newsworthy. Winter was quite challenging for us and the provider in other regions. And accommodation, by its nature, it's very emotional. It's families and children. So our birth was difficult for lots of boring reasons to do with technology and mobilisation. In a much better place now. I've had meetings with the Army, Navy, the Air Force, across the estate. So a bit more to do, but accommodation is now getting into its groove. USVF, the visiting forces, started well, doing well. So generally, VIVO is a successful business, but there's always more to do. The contracts we bid for and won weren't about doing more of the same. It's about better value, better customer experience, and that's where I come in. But if you join us, you'll be joining a business that's got many, many years to go, is doing well and growing. And in terms of the professions, you can see the sort of things that we do. We need people who work in project management, program management, commercial management, construction, general leadership, from supervisor up to director level, plus the support areas around HR, supply chain, commercial, health and safety. We're aiming to be around £1 billion a year in a few years' time. You can imagine we need people who do everything. So people with a really strong vocational background in planning, doing and delivering stuff and leading people in a fast-paced environment with military culture and experience, we're a good place to be. Second thing for me is around about how we do it. Now, I guess every company says they're very values driven and the customer comes first. Always gets said. Often, though, it's just a slogan on a boardroom wall. Because VIVO's new, we're trying really hard to make sure the way we do things is genuinely value driven. And our focus is genuinely on the customers. And the early signs are good. We're plugged into service families, the end users, building custodians, lieutenant colonels, group captains, commodores, the whole shooting match from top to bottom. General feedback is the signs are really good. And even in winter, when it was quite tricky, the thing that I think shone out most in terms of MOD was our behaviours and attitude. Even when our service was being tested, and being really candid, it was tested over winter, VIVO's people's behaviour, language, culture, openness really shone through. So therefore, the people we get have to have that sense of specialness within them as well. We want people who can really add to that value. So my second slide is around that. Again, every company, whether you're Waitrose, McDonald's, the Army or us, have values. Ours really matter to us. And they're very simple, 4 single words: open, caring, agile, and collaborative. But again, they're just slogans unless we live them, we make them come alive. Our aim, and we're doing it, is whether we recruit people, whether we induct people and train people, how we tackle challenges, how we work with ourselves, are based around those 4 values. We've got an award scheme that rewards and recognition is based around those 4 values. We talk about them, people's goals are set around them. And the more, I think, as leaders, we talk about them, the more we encourage and foster reward and celebration when people deliver them, the more they become the way we work. Caring sounds cheesy. It's not. We really care about our customers and our people. We're not magic. We get stuff wrong sometimes. So caring doesn't mean you're invincible or magic, but it means if you drop the ball, you're bothered about it and you stop it and sort it. Collaborative, we are joined hand in hand with MOD, DAO, and a wealth of other partners and suppliers. And collaboration for us is making sure that our client, DAO, collaborates with us, but also we collaborate with our teams and our suppliers. Agile, you know, the military, things change by the minute. So the ability not to be bound by the contract and what was done yesterday is really important. That can be hard sometimes. People like routine and structure. So we don't want to lose any of that. But agility, helping our mission partners deliver their aims that change day by day, really important. And openness. And that's openness in terms of integrity, so not fudging figures, but it's much more about being open to ideas and listening to each other. And I think open is the one that shone through to our clients and to our partners. And when things were challenging, we didn't duck stuff, we leant into it and we sorted it. For me, with my job, that's all about delivering customer first and families first. So again, they're not just strap lines. We've got entire plans for training, recruitment, and reward based around those. We talk about them, and they become challenges. If you see someone doing something, then it's fine to say, is that families first? Is that customer first? So we're trying to get a culture where people can say to their peers, their teams, their boss, I can see why you're doing it, but that's not families first, is it? It's a big thing to get your head around because it sort of cuts across hierarchies. And on Tuesday this week, I had a conversation where I said, I know it's a bit cheesy, but that's not families first, is it? So we are genuinely committed to make sure we achieve those. You saw on the previous slide, our contracts are a core period and an extended period. So generally 3 plus 7, sorry, 7 plus 3. We'll get the +3 if we achieve families first and customer first, as opposed to being the cheapest or the most effective. DAO, MOD, Secretary of State will say, yeah, no brainer, more for VIVO, because the word on the street is that we genuinely care about our customers, whether you're a young squaddy in single living, a family in accommodation, a custodian at an air station in terms of looking after their establishment. If we genuinely deliver on those two firsts over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years, then we're home and dry, because they're the attributes and the behaviours and the culture that give us security. And it's more fun as well. Having customers who really like you, who value what you're doing and say thank you, that's a whole lot more fun than just fighting battles for us. So we're value driven, we're trying to make them come alive, and for me it all comes down to ensuring that people we recruit, so some of you hopefully, come on board with your professional skill, with your service magic, knowing the estate, but being the right sort of person as well, somebody who can really live and thrive within these values. Because to me that means my job's easier, because customer first and families first comes naturally. So that's me. Happy to take any questions at the end around that. As I say, mine's the least interesting bit. I'll stop presenting now and hand over to Rachel.
My connection's not particularly great today, but yeah, I just wanted to really sort of give you a bit of an overview really of some of the things we've been doing to support some of the veterans leaving the services as part of their resettlement period. I haven't got any slides to show you today, and I'm going to keep my camera off, which I know is not very friendly, but it's just to make sure that I can maintain the connection so that I don't drop off. Firstly, thank you so much to everyone who's joined us today, and I won't keep you too long before I hand over to one of my colleagues to talk through some of their experiences. A few of the ways in which we've been working with BuildForce and Caroline and her colleagues over the last few months has been in a couple of areas, as well as trying to place people into roles. Caroline and the team have been fantastic in forwarding CVs through to VIVO. And I've had the great opportunity to meet some of you at the BuildForce events that we've had. I think the most recent one was in London with Mace. So what we've been doing is we've been looking at things like work placements. So for those of you that have still got a little while to go before you leave the services, we can look at arranging temporary work placements for you. So this would give you the opportunity to come down to a VIVO site and spend time with either our build estate team or housing team and get a feel for some of the things that Jamie's just talked about, so that culture, that those behaviours, those ways of working, giving you an opportunity to actually see those in action. Spend a little bit of time, if you like, looking at things on the estate from the other side of the fence, so from a maintenance contractor perspective. Meet some of our project managers, some of our site teams, and just get a real feel for what it would be like to work for VIVO. And so we continue to support our veterans with work placements. So if any of you are interested in a work placement with VIVO, whether it be just a site visit or a few weeks, do reach out to us and we'll get those arranged for you. As Jamie showed on his slides, we cover quite a large portion of the UK. So I think it's only Scotland and Northern Ireland where we don't have a presence at the moment. So if you're located anywhere else in the UK, we will be able to support you with a placement on one of our contracts. So work placements is one area in which we've been able to support. The other area is around a particular subject that's very close to my heart. So I work as VIVO's Head of Learning and Development. So I look after all the training that our VIVO colleagues attend. And I'm very proud to say that in the short time that VIVO has been around and live and operating, that we've already been accredited as a training centre with the CITB, so the Construction Industry Training Board, and IOSH as well. What this means is we can run in-house accredited CITB and IOSH training courses. So over the last few months, we've had around 5 or 6 veterans that have attended a VIVO Site Manager Safety Training Scheme course and got their CITB accreditation. And that's a great stepping stone, particularly for anyone on the call who's interested in site management or project management. Our SMSTS course covers areas such as CDM regulations, temporary works, the key elements of health and safety on a site. So SMSTS courses is something that we do offer places on for veterans as part of their resettlement. And also some of our other courses that we run for IOSH accredited, such as the 2-day temporary works coordinator courses and a number of other health and safety courses. So again, if you're coming to VIVO on a work placement, we can look at placing you on one of our health and safety courses at the same time, which will just give you an extra, if you like, string to your bow and tick in the box for your development. The great thing about offering the SMSTS in-house as well is it means that our trainer, who's a guy called Paul Garrod, he's able to bespoke the SMSTS course to the military site environment. So it's very bespoke to the kind of sites that we operate on, but it is still that nationally recognised accredited SMSTS course that you can take that qualification with you wherever you go. So that's a little bit about work placements and training. I am always here to talk to anybody who's interested or just wants a little bit of guidance around training in particular, whether it be project management, site management, health and safety. If anyone does want to reach out and just have a chat about, you know, training in general or where to spend your learning credits, I can more than happy to talk you through that and you know, just make sure that you are going on the right courses to meet the requirements of your future careers. I think that's it from me. Just a short and sweet introduction, but I would like to hand over to my colleague Dan to talk through our current opportunities and vacancies at the moment. Thanks, Dan.
Nice, thanks, Rachel. Hi all. So I'm Dan Riley. So I am the talent acquisition manager for VIVO. So I kind of head up all of the recruitment that the business currently has. So at the moment, we've got around about 107 live vacancies, and it's kind of to Jamie's point that we're ever growing. So 30 of those specifically are due to a project, and we have ongoing projects that kind of will come up, change. We'll notice projects that can be taking place, speak to the MOD, and then the roles will continue to kind of come on and develop and change as we go. So it's my first point really is I'm going to pop it in the chat in a few moments, but you really keep an eye on kind of what we're doing as things can develop and change, and it's not always the same role types that are coming up. If we're doing something different, then we'll require something different. We have our target operating models set at our contracts. We never know kind of what's around the corner. In a year's time, we could be doing something completely different to some of our sites, and we need some new quality and new skills coming into the business. And to kind of reiterate to Jamie's point, it really is that military background that kind of helps embed people into the contracts too. And even though some of you will have qualifications and kind of your own day jobs, which will represent kind of some of the work that we're doing, that the military attributes really do help as well, kind of embed us in and the understanding of the sites, locations, etc., and how we need to work. And to that point, I just wanted to kind of discuss when kind of applying for roles with us and when noticing things that you think you might be interested in and working with BuildForce. It really is kind of best that you really highlight kind of why you want to go for those roles, and then specifically make your applications bespoke to them. So some of the CVs that we receive, and this is not just kind of veterans or military, active military service, they can come through and we're not seeing all of the qualifications or all of the kind of work that you have actually done and achieved. And some people might find this difficult, but it is the time to kind of show off. A CV is the time to kind of show off and say, this is what I've done, this is what I've achieved, and this is the skills that I have. So I just wanted to point out that when going for any of these roles, if you specifically saw a project manager vacancy for our housing or the construction side, highlight what you've done in that area specifically to make sure that we are seeing that from you, and making sure that we know exactly what you have done, have accomplished and achieved. Because every now and again you pop a CV through for a vacancy and think afterwards, the same as an interview, oh, I could have said this or I could have done this. Just have a look at it when you're going to apply for a vacancy and make sure that you've got all of the detail in there, the experience, the skills, everything you have, to make sure that you're highlighted for those vacancies. And to talk through some of the vacancies that we've got at the moment, the predominant stuff at the moment is project management. So project management is always going to be a big piece for us. And that is really where, again, for VIVO, we can develop ourselves and make our money for the company, where we're going out and identifying projects and going back to the MOD saying this work needs to be done. This is how we can do it, how we achieve it. And to me, it's a very attractive role, the project management side of it as well, due to the fact that you are making that impact on people and actually developing things for them too. So we have multiple project management vacancies across different locations at the moment. And at the moment, there's a bit of a trend where we're looking at a lot of multi-skilled kind of vacancies as well. So anyone that's got electrical, engineering, mechanical, all those sorts of roles as well. We have quite a few of those live across multiple different sites at the moment too. So I only want to highlight a couple of them at the moment, because if I talk through all the vacancies, I'll take the whole call. But there'll be something in there for everyone. And it's really just look at those vacancies, identify what matches to your skill set and what you want to do. And then once you've done that, just reflect that onto a CV, onto an application, and have a real understanding of yourself, of kind of what you need and what you require as well. So if you're currently serving, work out kind of what is the salary expectations I've got for that role. Have a conversation with us if you get the chance to. Just pop us a message and pick up with us. Speak to us and say kind of, this is what I'm currently doing, this is what I'm currently earning, and we can have those conversations with you and guide you through it, and BuildForce can as well, where we can actually kind of navigate that kind of course for you, rather than it just being the CV and an application coming through and then passed on to the next stage. If you've got any questions and queries, have the conversations with us, and we're really here to kind of help and make it the easiest transition as possible. But kind of working with our team, we're hoping to get kind of, again, more of an influx of more people that have got that experience to support you guys getting into these roles. Only other kind of couple of bits that I wanted to talk about was really kind of, I'm going to go back to this point, focus on the qualification to make sure that you guys are kind of highlighting it and making sure that you are kind of singing that out of everything you've got, so that we can push you forward and have those conversations. And if at any point you need support with the applications, our details. I'll put mine and my colleagues, our LinkedIn details, etc., in, so you can speak to us and see what we're working on. Just pick up the, I was about to say, pick up the phone, pick up a laptop, pick up your phone, email us, talk to us, speak to us. We'll try and help guide you through the process. BuildForce, as kind of Jamie and Rachel said, have been massive support, passing over the CVs and making sure that applications are getting looked at and trying to support us in filling our vacancies at the same time, supporting you guys. But what we need from you is making sure that if there's any questions that are going unanswered, or you want any support conversation, that you can be communicating with us as well, so that we can talk to you and help guide you too. I will put up the career site in a moment, and you'll see all of our live vacancies. It should be highlighted for VIVO. As kind of Jamie described at the start, we are across a lot of different locations. So depending on where you're based, there should be something quite close to you, considering we've got about 107 vacancies at the moment. So if there's anything of interest, go on, have a look, make that application, or speak to BuildForce about putting you through. And then if you need to pick up anything with me or my team, just let us know, and then we'll be there to communicate with you and try and speak with you and set something up for you. And if there's any other questions, again, I'll wait till the end and go for the Q&A if anyone wants to talk about anything.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to talk to you about my experiences in transitioning from military life to the civilian world. As I say, my name is Kenwyn Hughes. I'm the Built Estate Manager at Service Delivery Area 10, based in North Wales. My current location is RAF Valley. I'd like to add as well that as part of VIVO, we have the Armed Forces Kinship Group, which currently I'm the Deputy Chair. And in that group, we do support our military colleagues, ensuring that obviously we get support where that's needed. And also, as part of that kinship group, we know firsthand how difficult it is transitioning to Civvy Street, and actually understanding some job descriptions that you might be interested in applying for. So what we've done with our own job descriptions is tailored them to the military family, and trying to sort of go through all that jargon to try and make people understand what kind of transferable skills and knowledge that you have in actually pertaining your CV for a particular role. So yeah, I'm originally from North Wales, beautiful island of Anglesey, and as a 16-year-old lad, I joined the REME. I had an 18-year career in the electrical mechanical engineers as a vehicle mechanic. Obviously came out of training as with my apprenticeship in automotive engineering. Unfortunately, in 2012, my world fell apart because I was a part of the tranche 2 redundancies that the government were undertaking. At the time, I was a staff sergeant, and I obviously gone through the TIFI route. But going through the military gives us great opportunities to gain valuable experiences, skills, and training. And during my REME career, I sort of had a diverse career by supporting tank regiments, nuclear biological regiments, light detachments with the Light Dragoons, Army Air Corps I was a part of, and my last unit was a TA centre based in Coventry as a PSI. Here is where I did all my training qualifications, and I enjoyed it immensely, to be honest, because I got my CETLS course and my AVA assessor's qualification, and also coaching and mentoring qualifications, which was ideal for civilian life. Then I thought, right, okay, what am I going to do now I'm being made redundant? Young family, wife, 2 kids. How am I going to apply for a job? Never had to apply for a job before, apart from obviously when I was 16-year-old joining the army. So I went online, did a bit of research on how to write a CV, put what I thought was pertinent from my military training into the CV, and I've started applying for training roles. Fortunate enough, I got my first job with Scania Automotive as an apprentice training manager based in Colville, Leicestershire. In this role, I only spent 12 months. It wasn't an easy transition, to be honest, because going from a TA environment into an environment where I was teaching young apprentices coming into the automotive business, where they didn't really want to be there, it was quite tough. So it wasn't really enjoyable for myself. So I thought, right, I need to move on quickly here, because I'd want to get up in the morning, not loving going to work. So I started then to write my CV again with my pertinent experiences to apply for more roles. I enjoyed the training aspect, and I thought, right, my next move needs to be a similar role as in training. And because I lived in the Midlands near Nottingham at the time, I knew that the Nottingham trams were expanding. So I applied for a role there as a training manager and infrastructure manager. Luckily enough, during the interview, my military skills came across. It was an ex-veteran himself that was actually conducting the interview. So I was employed by NTL on a 2-year contract. Again, and that 2 years, the world fell apart again because they weren't going to extend the contract. So I had to start applying for more jobs. Luckily enough, I knew a guy that lived close by that was ex-military, and I knew that their company was hiring field engineers. So I sent him my CV, asked his help to write the CV pertinent for that role, and within a couple of months, I was there with BPW Limited in Leicester, initially as a field engineer. One of the transferable skills that we've got in the military is to be trustworthy and have integrity. And my manager obviously got that confidence in me to let me go alone across the country, going to customers, visiting customer sites, and ensuring that we provided the support that they needed on their sites. BPW Limited manufactured axles for haulage trailers. We got all the training that we needed with BPW. But one of the things that they hadn't had and they hadn't started to develop was their own braking calculation system. So I'd obviously made a good impression on my manager because he made me lead on a project to design a new software system to calculate braking efficiencies for haulage trailers. It was a successful project, and we actually developed this software system into our industry. And as far as I believe, it's still in process today and still used today for haulage trailers. However, as a true soldier, I was always striving to develop myself and gain promotion, like we always do. We want to get to that next rank. So I thought, right, there's nowhere else for me to go in this business. I want to get to a more senior management position. So I started then to write my CV, again, making sure it's job specific for the environments that I was looking at. So I wanted to go into production management. So I applied for a role with East Midlands Railway based in Nottingham. And luckily enough, I was successful to be the production depot manager in Nottingham train station. This is a tough environment to go in. I don't know if you know anybody part of the railway, but it's a tough environment. When I started 6 months into that position, COVID-19 and the pandemic hit us. So as you can imagine, in COVID-19, we were part of the key working scheme, so I was in work every day. We all had to deliver things in a different way and ensure that our sites and infrastructure adopted to the practices needed to keep everyone safe. Then Amazon came calling. This was out of the blue. Somebody contacted me, well, an old colleague actually from the military contacted me on LinkedIn and asked me if I was interested in a job at Amazon. Obviously, I'd heard of Amazon because it's a huge company across the world. So I applied for the position, was successful in the application, and I started with Amazon through the pandemic. As the production manager, I was fortunate to be able to implement several ideas and enhance the day-to-day working environment. The beauty with Amazon as well is they are willing to invest. My base was in Colville, Leicestershire, and doesn't matter what plan you have to implement in their business, doesn't matter how much it costs, if it enhances the production and the output of a parcel getting out the door a little bit quicker, they will invest in it. So it gives you confidence to actually enhance your skills and also develop ideas to actually produce something for the end user. And that's always been at the forefront of my mind, is actually what I can do for the end user. However, due to personal reasons, I had to move back to my roots and head back to Anglesey. So I had to start looking at work in North Wales. Don't know if any of you know North Wales, but it's not an easy place to get a good job in, really, to be honest. But luckily enough, Amy at the time were advertising before the VIVO contract took over. So I applied for the role, and a week before VIVO took over, I started at RAF Valley as the site manager. I'd been involved in a contract change before, so I was really enthused about what VIVO had to offer for the MOD. My first day at RAF Valley was a bit of a relief, because I was back in the environment that I'd been used to for 18 years. I was speaking the lingo that people actually understood, what fill your boots or such like meant, and I've been there since say last January, and we have gained massive strides in Service Delivery Area 10 to enhance what VIVO do, and we're agile in our approach, and we have good collaboration with everybody involved. So our transferable skills and challenges. What did I envisage when I left the military? I wanted to know where do I fit in? How was I going to apply for jobs? But one thing that I know as a military person is our work ethic. I knew that I had to work for a living for a change, and I knew there would be no more sports afternoons or Friday afternoons early knockoffs. So we knew that it was going to be a 9-to-5 job, Monday to Friday, and sometimes having to work at weekends, which was no surprise. One thing that we're also good at as military people is collaboration and communication. We always talk clear, loud, as an order, and with pauses. And we also know that where the banter needs to stop, because we do our yearly match training in equality and diversity. And I'm pleased to say that Jamie showed you a slide earlier on regarding the VIVO's values. This is one thing as military personnel that we know, and the Solid C. Obviously for VIVO now, we're open, we're caring, we're agile, and we're collaborative. If we follow these in business, I've always strived to learn the company's values, and if you do this, you won't go far wrong. We've got a sense of belonging as military people, and now I always say to people that if you cut my veins, I've got the VIVO purple blood that comes out of them. A bit cheesy, I know, but as part of REME, I was really proud. I'm a proud Welshman. You know, I'm always wanting to be belonging to something, and VIVO, we are a family. We've got leadership skills. We're always striving to be to the next level. We're always striving to get promoted, and to get promotion, you need leadership. A good transferable skill that you can actually use in civilian life. We've also got technical ability, but one thing we need to know is that we're not experts in civistry. If we're good in the army, we're not experts. So just be aware that when you are applying for stuff, you don't undersell yourself, because you've got a vast amount of training that is transferable to Civvy Street. Just a bit of advice on your CV. Share with colleagues. My email will come up in the end. If you want to share it with me, if you want to apply for a job at VIVO, please share it, and I'll give you honest advice on your application. Make sure that we don't use acronyms in our CVs, because people might not understand the military language. And that's the end of my presentation. Has anyone got? Oh, we'll leave the questions to the end, but if you want to write down my email address, I'm more than happy for you to take it. And now I'm going to hand over to my colleague, Alex.
Good afternoon, everyone. Alex McRae, Technical Compliance Manager for VIVO. I cover both built estates, so Central and the Southwest contract, and also the United States Visiting Force contract. So I have quite an important role ensuring that we meet contract compliance. So I head up the asset management team, and our roles are specifically to ensure that the asset data we have in our system provides the statutory and mandatory plan maintenance required to keep the estate safe and legal. So I'll just, in 1982, I joined the Royal Navy as an artificer apprentice and undertook a 4-year apprenticeship, which was a combination of classroom work and fitting and turning and allied trades. I then joined a submarine service, having undergone nuclear and submarine training. I went and joined my first submarine in 1987, where I basically, for the following 17 years, carried on working in the submarine environment, either on board, going to sea, or on a shore service job, helping maintain the fleet while they were up alongside it during a maintenance period. I was offered a further 10 years, but I declined it because of family reasons. I wanted to see my kids grow up. When you're, if any of you are in the submarine service, you know full well you go away for months on end and you have no communications at all with your family. So it was quite tough at times. So I elected to leave the Navy after 22 years. But in recognition of that, I looked back and thought, well, what have I got? What training have I got? I had a national diploma in engineering, which wasn't a particularly high qualification, and a City and Guilds in fitting and turning. So with about 5 years left to go, I was fortunate enough to have a shore service draft, which was for about 2.5 years. So I went back to college and used the education allowance available to me to do an HNC. And then when I went back into the fleet, and then in my last year, I did an HND. So I would say to you, if you've still got time left in your service, do look at your qualifications and use the education allowance available to you to top your skills up. So in the last 18 months, I was entering a resettlement, and I thought, really, what do I really want to do? I really enjoyed engineering. It's hands-on, although having said that, later on in my career, it was more of a sort of managerial role. But I do enjoy the challenges that engineering provides. You know, you get a problem, you have to try and think, how am I going to fix it? So I was very keen to stay in an engineering environment, and an opportunity arose for me to stay with the MOD effectively. But anyway, I'll come on to that in a few more minutes. So while I was doing my resettlement courses, a lot of them are free. So the CV writing courses, risk assessment courses, do as many of the free ones as you can. But I let everyone says, oh, you must do NEBOSH, health and safety is the thing to have. And I thought, no, health and safety, it would bore me rigid. So I went on a course which was specifically for engineering. It gave me some commercial insights. It provided project management, and it provided the qualification. I got a diploma in engineering as a consequence of that. So the other thing I did, and I would encourage you all to look at, is to join an institute. So with about 4 years left to go, I joined the Institute of Plant Engineers. And so you go through an interview process, you have to provide supporting documentation, qualifications, and I had to write something like a 10,000 précis of my career. And then, like I said, you go to an interview and they effectively then say whether you can go in as an Eng Tech or an incorporated engineer or a fellow. I should imagine there are the equivalents in HR or building services or whatever your background is. There are institutes out there that suit you. So I would certainly encourage you to look at one of those. like I said, I was fortunate in able to get incorporated engineer status, which is nowadays you need a degree most of the time to get into the institute. So I then started applying for jobs within about 6-7 months to go. I tailored my CV very much around facility management. I looked at insurance inspection jobs. So basically, we have people that actually come onto our estate and they validate items fit for purpose. So like things like certain boilers, local exhaust ventilation systems, lifting equipment, to ensure that they are safe for people to continue to use. But the role came up at MOD Kyneton, which is an explosive storage base based in the Midlands. So I moved lock, stock and barrel from Plymouth up to the Midlands, where I've stayed ever since. And I've 2P transferred from Serco, where I was employed as a senior engineer, across to Carillion Enterprise, and then from Carillion Enterprise became Carillion Amy, and then Carillion Amy became Amy because of what happened with Carillion. And then I actually left Amy before the end of the last contract to help mobilize the VIVO contract, as did Rachel. So yeah, I've been on the MOD estate in some guise for I hasten to add 41 years almost to the day I joined the Navy. So yeah, I was a powder monkey. I was only 3 years old when I joined. So yeah. Anyway, that's on top of that, I'm also the chair of the Armed Forces Kinship Network, which Kenwyn alluded to earlier. And I'm proud to announce that we've just been awarded the Defence Employer Recognition Silver Award. So we've gone through an application process to get this award. So you can see that you know, we are externally appreciated for the work we do in coupling with the defence sector. We have also set up, as part of the kinship group, 3 charities. So we've got the 3 benevolent funds set up, and we are starting to raise money for all, you know, the Royal Navy, Army and Royal Air Force benevolent funds, which I kick-started off back end of June by completing the 3 Peaks Challenge. We also have Launchpad. You probably, unless you're based in the northeast or northwest, you may not have heard of. This is there's 3 estates or 3 houses where we have, well, ex-servicemen are housed, who have fallen on hard times. So we're looking to set up some sort of advice for those particular people. We've got people going up there to do a bit of gardening and so forth. So that pretty much is what I'm about. You know, the one thing I would say, because you have a can-do attitude. I mean, certainly my Navy times, there was no problem at any time that you couldn't fix. You can imagine if you're on a submarine on patrol and something breaks, you can't just pull into the nearest garage and get somebody else to fix it for you. You've got to do it yourself. So you have to, you know, that mindset you've generated over the last X number of years in your careers, and that is a real positive mindset to have, and that will benefit you in any employment you have in Civvy Street. So never forget about that. Okay, I think that's all I've got to say. So I'll hand back to Angela. I think it will be. Yeah.
Hi, Alex. That was excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, so good to hear from you again. If we could ask all our speakers to put their cameras on, ask Caroline to join us. If you do have a question, just raise your hand and we'll start off just while she's a bit shy and you're warming up. So just to Jamie, first of all, thank you for kicking us off today, Jamie. You said that you know the worth of a person or an organisation with how they respond when they're under pressure. And that's when their culture and their values are at their best. And I thought that was fantastic, a great way to sum up VIVO. So where the JV's relatively new, it sounds as if you've still got this quite established or mature military programme. Yeah, you're finding the guys and girls are coming in well, landing softly.
Yeah, so I was in Blandford yesterday, home of the Royal Signals, with somebody who was a major until 2 months ago. He was my customer at Blandford, and I was joined VIVO. And I said, well, I've got this session tomorrow with BuildForce. How did it go for you? So what were the big unknowns? And the things I've said today mirror that. He felt confident coming over because I think, as Cameron said, you know, the jargon and the banter and language, you know, the estate, and that's really reassuring. But he knew his stuff as well. He knew his craft and trade. I think a unique thing in the services is people are there for a long time. I think Cameron said as well, his first CV when he was a toddler and then a lifetime later. So it must be daunting going into this work process because it's got the application piece. But I think talent comes to the top. I think regardless of whether you've been in the services for 5 years or 50 years, probably not 50, your ability to do a good job, to have the right values, and to sell yourself a bit. And I guess it's one thing perhaps the services don't need to do. It's really making your CV, your advert. But talent rises to the top. Are we perfect? No, still very new. So some things that a really mature company will have in terms of some of the depth of processes, we're still designing. That makes it a great place to be because you can make a mark. The downside, though, is that some things aren't quite there yet. So if you need tons of routine, tons of structure, we might not be the right people for you all the time. But this chap yesterday, who I rated an awful lot, he found it okay. It was good.
Right. Okay. No, that's really, really good to hear. And just on your point there, the kind of 5 to 50 year service, I was speaking to somebody today that's there for 38 years, which is incredible. Got a lot left in them. Got a fantastic second career ahead. So obviously, kind of any age and any length of experience, it doesn't affect at all. It just makes them a stronger candidate, doesn't it? And just on Rachel, you mentioned the site visits, you mentioned all the career support and advice that you're going to give. I think we were kind of quite overwhelmed to hear about you are investing in these individuals with SNSTS courses, the temporary works courses that you mentioned. I mean, that is a brilliant example of truly investing in individuals. Should the individuals contact Caroline to get to you, Rachel? Is that the best way for them to register? I see a couple of people have already requested some work placements.
Yeah, that would be great. I've also popped my email address in the chat as well. Yeah. But it's always a good starting off point to register with yourselves first and get that information through yourselves to us. But yeah, it's been really enjoyable from my perspective to offer those places on those courses, and the feedback has always been really positive from those that have been on the courses, but also it's been really good experience for my VIVO colleagues to actually sit and spend that 5 days with someone who is still serving and get that mixture of experience and what life is like on a site. And so it's definitely been a win-win for VIVO. It's helped our colleagues, and it's and also it's helped the person going through that resettlement period. So it's really great to be able to offer that support and that service to people.
And on that work placement, can I just ask, what does that look like? Is it a day? Is it a couple of days? Are they shadowing different disciplines? What would that?
So for work placement, depending on the length of the work placement, we would, and your areas of interest. So if you're interested in project management, we would put you with one of our project managers to shadow them for a week or two. You'd get to sit on things like adjudications, pre-start meetings with the end user, go out and do work inspections. So it gives you a nice sort of overview of the different stages of the project. And how they're run on site. If it's more site management, then you would spend more time with our site managers team to see how they manage the delivery of the works with our trade staff and our supply chain. do things like site inspections, health and safety walkarounds, things like that. So trying to give you a really good flavour. So we would do like a programme with you and the person that from VIVO that's sponsoring the work placement to make sure you get good visibility of everything. In terms of the training, the SMSTS is a 5-day course, so you would join us for the full 5 days and do the exam at the end. And then there's a few other shorter courses. We do the 2-day temporary works coordinator course, and we're going to be launching the new CDM course, which will include the new fire regulations, and that will be IOSH accredited. So we're going to start advertising dates for that in the next month. But yeah, lots of opportunities to come and join our training. There's always spaces. We're running them on site anyway, so it's just a great opportunity for people to join those and take part.
Brilliant. Okay, and just on the work placements, are there any entry requirements? Do you need them to have a CSCS card or just apply?
No, as long as you can bring photo ID, we can get you booked in at the guardhouse. If you've got military ID and you've got current clearance, that makes it even easier. But if not, we can arrange for whomever's going to be looking after you to do the site escort for you as well onto base. Yeah, so apart from that, no sort of prerequisites to do the work placement.
Okay, and just to confirm, the CSCS, the SMSTS course is free. You're covering the cost.
Yes.
Just come in. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. They're going to be signing up in their droves, so I hope you have to see email account there. But it is really good. It just brings it to life, doesn't it? It gets them to site. It gives them a flavour, which is good. Can I just ask kind of one question for anybody to work for VIVO? Do you require them to be at least have SC clearance? Is DV required? Is there any prerequisite there?
I can answer that.
Hi.
You need SC clearance, but that would come only for 3 sites or more. So if you cover more than or certain sites, so certain sites with have a higher security, like Credden Hill, Kyneton, you need. And there are some exceptions where you need DV clearance, but normally it's just the basic level of clearance. But that would, when I left, it was ironic. I left the Navy. I thought I'll get security clearance just like that. I had to go through the security clearance process. It took 3 or 4 months to come through. I just thought it'd be automatic. It was, So it's done through the company.
Right. Okay. Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you, Alex. A question to Dan. You did say on the CV, show off, tell us what you've done, which I liked. Can I ask if there's any turn-offs, Dan, on the CV? Anything that you don't like seeing that keeps popping up?
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a turn-off, but I'd say it's kind of things have changed with CVs. So the biggest stuff is really to, at the start of your CV, obviously have your details and make sure your contact numbers are up to date is one of the biggest ones. The amount of candidates I phone and they've got the wrong phone number on there and end up emailing them getting a different number. But make sure your details are correct on there. At the start, talk about kind of what you're currently doing, and again, then go into the first role. I'd always suggest that you start with the CV with your most recent role. Sometimes you get CVs that are written backwards. So, and again, that's, as a recruiter's experience, backwards, where it starts at the end of your career, at the start of your career, then moves down. You want to see the most relevant information kind of first on you. So start with your current career, highlight what the role is and what your duties are in the role, and then move on to achievements and qualifications you've received in that role. It doesn't need to be massive detail on what your current position is. It's more about what you've achieved throughout that position. And then again, going to the qualifications. If you want, you can have a qualifications part at the top or at the bottom of a page as well to list off all of them. But if you want to reference during that, you say your role was a plumber and maintenance, and you completed all this maintenance on these different properties and houses or in construction, and then you highlight all of that, and then your qualification in the plumbing, then that shows to us, because recently I did have an application with a lot of plumbing roles, and the chap didn't put on there he was a qualified plumber. But after I phoned him, he was like, "Oh no, I do have the qualification." It just ended up with an extra phone call, and he went through to interview. But just make sure your information's on there, and it's the same as an interview in a way, that when you're talking about yourself, sometimes it's quite hard to kind of big yourself up and talk about yourself and how good you are at certain things, but it's a small snippet of a window, a CV is, into who you are. It's not necessarily about your personality, that comes later. But with a CV, you need to express the achievements and everything you've accomplished in a short, concise way. So don't worry about putting on there that you've made this cost saving, you've helped the business do this, or you've had the military this, whatever area of it is that you're in. Talk about yourself and what you've achieved, and talk about I rather than kind of we, anything that you've been involved in. And the only other thing I'd say is it's less kind of less common now where people have any images on CVs, or anyone will have any kind of personal profile. And I'd always suggest, wherever you're applying, do not put date of birth on a CV. Some businesses are going to be a bit backwards, and they'll look at an age and think that relates to something. It doesn't. Age doesn't relate to anything. Experience, your attitude, that's what matters. Don't put your age on a CV or date, even if you're going down to the point of when you attended university, college, if you've done that as well. Just put that you've attended it. You don't need those dates on there. And most businesses now, like we're going to be implementing a system that removes all of that stuff from it, so it completely removes the bias. And don't give people an opportunity to look into something and think. Just talk about what you're good at, what experience you've got, and your qualifications. And that's what really matters, not kind of the personal stuff outside of it. Because again, if you talk about your favourite football team, I live in Birmingham and I don't do football. If I applied for a job and said I was an Aston Villa fan and the Birmingham City fan was looking at my CV, they might take offence to the fact that I'm an Aston Villa fan. It's just for the work details. And then when you communicate with someone in a forum of an interview, that's when you build that rapport of personality and what you're like. The CV is literally a window to get you in there, and then you do the rest yourself and show off your attitude.
Okay, no, thanks for that, Dan. I'm going to ask a question on behalf of David, who I spoke to earlier. For the PM roles, obviously you've got the skills and experiences that you need, but we'll have service leavers with more conventional construction experience. And we'll also have our service leavers from the wider armed forces with still incredible skills. Can they trust that VIVO can still read the CV and interpret that they are capable of a project management role?
Yeah, so one thing we've been working on with the project management stuff, which is just come to fruition as well, is adjusting what we're doing with the project manager roles and levels of project managers. Because again, I know from friends that are like service leavers, a lot of people use their credits to work and do project type courses and different Lean Sigma 6 and all the rest of it to work into and want to get into the project space. So some of the stuff that we're trying to do is create, instead of just having a project manager, we have apprentice project manager, we have other roles that can filter into, then they can learn the actual construction side as such with it. So they've got the skills to run the projects, and then they learn the on-hand actual job of it, because running a project is quite similar across most things, but it's just that detail of what the project is that you then need to learn. So we're working at the moment and building, there's some apprenticeship ones that are coming up, and they're not like apprenticeship level, but it's so that they can actually get the kind of the end point of the qualification if they're not fully qualified, and they'll add bits in on the job learning. So there's bits of that being built in at the moment. So we were trying to make sure that we're not pinning ourselves to you have to have this, you have to have this, and you have to have this, and listing off as of construction, housing, etc. We'll look at what's available, look at what we've got, and look at their candidate CV and go, they can do the projects, they can do this, can the rest be trained, and have those conversations. And it's something that is across kind of all positions, where we always challenge the hiring manager to say, well, what do they have to have, and what can be trained, and then how much of it is experience versus attitude. Some of the positions, obviously qualifications are very much needed, but on the rest, have you got the time you can commit to that person coming into the business, show them the ropes with the actual day-to-day, and then they can just walk off and do the rest themselves. So we do have this conversation with everyone, just trying to widen that gate to go on. The ideal candidate would be this, but okay, if we can't get the ideal, what else would you kind of bring into the business, and what could you commit? Because we know ourselves, and so what Rachel's talking about, if you put time and commit to someone in training and giving them a chance, your attrition rates reduce, and it's less chance of someone leaving the business because we're supporting them as well.
Brilliant. And Jamie, anything to add there?
No, I just echo our previous comments. I think there's a risk that you want to say in your CV, I'm amazing, I'm wonderful, I'm flexible, I work really hard, I can balance team-based skills with individual responsibility. That's your opinion. You would think that. As Dan said, it's fact and proof and evidence. And echoing the football thing, I got sent a CV 2 years ago that had a picture of Wolverhampton Wanderers in it, and it said, to know me, you have to know my team. Honestly, don't do anything like that.
Okay. Okay, but that didn't
Yeah,
come from
I
us,
think I was
by the
being a
way.
bit polite. The pictures and all the rest of it, and telling everyone else what you're doing on a weekend is not relevant. Just
Not
the
anymore.
facts.
It never was, but don't even type it now.
Don't do it now. Okay. Any questions? I just kind of please join the chat. To our veterans, so Kenwyn, can I ask probably just a very obvious question? So thank you very much. That was a great presentation that you gave. So your title of Built Estates Manager, can you just help me a little bit with the terminology here? What would that be the equivalent of? Is it an FM manager? Is it a site manager? A PM manager? What does the fancy title mean?
Well, my old title was site manager. So
Okay.
when VIVO came over from Amy and obviously took over the contract, most of our titles changed. So we obviously work across the built estate. So I look after 5 sites in North Wales. That's my role. I look after 5 sites on the built estate. So I'm obviously the built estate manager. In my team, I have 7 people that look after the 5 sites. So I have operation managers, I have authorized persons that also support our day-to-day delivery. I've also got a billable works manager and also a project manager. And then I've got an administrator that also supports us on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, and a question for Mark Martin, just keep me right. So Mark, kind of relatively senior candidate, site management routes, engaged with industry who says, oh, you're much suited to be a PM, you've got more skills. Would something like that suit this individual who's probably got the propensity to do both those roles?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, project management, you're looking at developing projects and delivering, obviously, from start to finish. But as a built estate manager, we look at the holistic approach, and we're governed by key performance indicators at the end of the day. We have to deliver. We have to deliver planned maintenance. We have to deliver reactive maintenance, and also sort of the major projects, but also the minor projects that make a difference really quickly to people. And that's one of the key roles that I like in my day-to-day, is that we can get an idea implemented really quickly and deliver it really quickly for the end user. And from a military background, I can see that the actual changes and the enhancements that we're making on site to the lived experience.
Okay, and can I ask a bit of a naughty question? You don't have to answer if you don't want to. What is it like working on a defence project? What are they like as a client?
As you can imagine, it is demanding, and the clients are demanding. However, from my own personal experience, I've been there. I've worked with them before, so our collaboration skills do come to the fore in these cases, especially when we're in meetings. And one of the VIVO's values is being open. We have to be honest, and we have to tell them that if we can't deliver something, then that's the case. But we tell them as well how we will achieve it and by when, and try and fit to that program.
Okay, and do you enjoy it? Is it more stressful than other careers?
As you can see from my presentation, I've had various different roles since I left the military.
Okay.
And this is probably the closest that I've come to that environment, even though I'm going into work with a shirt and tie every day.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not with a tie anymore, but yeah, but working with military people, yeah, it's a breath of fresh air, and it's probably the bit of cliche, but one of the best jobs I've had since I left.
Okay, and obviously you're freezing today, and the rest of us are absolutely sweltering. Do you do a lot of kind of working from home? Do you do a lot of hybrid working?
I'm only working from home today because of this rack issue that's going on across the country, and my daughter's not started school yet. Yeah, so but I am site based, so I'm customer facing most of the time. My team is also, but VIVO are a diverse company. If you need to work from home for a certain aspect, we are more than supportive of that as well.
Okay, and your future, what would a promotion look like for you? What would the next role be?
So for myself, I work on service delivery area 10, and then I have an area manager that looks after 10 and 9. So that would be my next sort of progression as an area manager, looking at across numerous SDAs.
Right.
That's where I want to go next.
Right. Okay. I am the prize. And you're, without prying, you're paid well for what you do. It's a good option for those that have got financial commitments, mortgages, and the like.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult with pay where you are in the country. VIVO have competitive salaries, you know, and being in North Wales, that's one of the key things that, you know, it was difficult for me to get a good role at that pay structure. And in the military, you know, I know that we're well paid for what we do. And people that come out with a military pension, was a potential mistake that I made was I valued myself a little bit lower because I knew that I had my military pension to fall back on. So that was a mistake that I made initially, was I shouldn't have really considered that and aimed a little bit higher to come out with a job that actually I was being paid exactly what I was when I was in the military, and had my pension for beer funds, so to speak.
Beer funds and tattoos, Rolex watches, that's what it's for. It's your prize, you deserve it. Can I ask Caroline just to join us on that, on the salary point? Caroline, what is your advice there on the pay parity piece?
Yeah, so the salary one is always a tough one, isn't it? So we have, you know, we have some of our military candidates that say, you know, never take a drop down, but I like to call it a sideways step. So never be afraid to take a sideways step and come in a level lower just to learn the sector, the tools, the trade. We've talked to a lot of our candidates that have gone in as a senior project manager, and they said they've coped, but it has been that furious swan analogy where they've been gliding but paddling underneath, and they've been just left to it and expect to just run with it on day one. Whereas those that have come in as the PM, they've been allowed to grow with the role, and they've been given more guidance. So never be afraid just to take that step across. The salaries, you know, in the consultancy space, they're pretty much across the board. I do have basic band salaries for that. So if you want to get in touch, I'm happy to put them in an email to you. Glassdoor is always a useful reference. But don't be afraid to negotiate. You know, you've got to be able. You have bills to pay. You have a life to live. Okay, let's not be crazy. Some of our candidates are sort of gasp, and we have to manage those salary expectations. But at the end of the day, know your worth and go in there a few grand more, because the employer will always come down. And if you get a salary and you're not happy with it, go back in and negotiate. They're not going to pull away the role. The worst they're going to say is no, and then you have to think about it. But once you have that salary, that's going to be it for I don't know, a year or so before you can get a pay rise. So make sure you're happy with it from day one.
Carol, if I just come there as well. It's an interesting question. The job market's really buoyant. And that gives people in the market power as an employer. That can be a bit daunting. It's about making sure we reward our talent, but rewards more than the salary, though. I think you look at the overall benefits package of the VIVO, we try and tick all the boxes. It's surprising how poor some companies' sick pay is, holiday pay is, bonuses with leadership roles. So don't just look at the salary, look at the overall benefits package you'd be getting through. I agree with Caroline.
That's really good
worth to negotiate. No one's going to withdraw an offer or sack you because you asked. How you asked is really important. Don't come across as a bit too confrontational. But think about the overall reward package. What do I get from this organisation? Salary is a key part. That pays the mortgage, but there's other stuff as well.
Great advice.
Sorry, can I add one part to that as well, just to kind of finish that bit off? Exactly to what Jamie said, how you ask and how you identify yourself as to why you are worth that level of money, not because you've seen other people or because of the level. It's about you and why you're worth that money. Make sure you identify that and you back it against all the facts of, like, I have this qualification, I have these skills, this is where I should sit in the business. And one of the final thing I'd say is, if you are currently serving and you're still waiting to leave as well, make sure that those final conversations are had really well and they're very personable from your side too, because any business that is taking you on and that you have 3 to 6 months time to leave, if the conversations aren't great, they don't want to think that you're then still interviewing for other things, and then when you leave you can just go, actually, well, I've got another £5 somewhere else. They want to make sure they've received your commitment, that you are happy with things. So the negotiation point is two-sided. So if we know we're leaving you happy with what you've got and that you're in a good space and you're actually really happy and you feel like you've got what you deserved, we're more comfortable then. thinking that when you actually finally do get to leave, you will be coming to us. So if you do have the kind of niggly feeling that it's not the right salary, have that conversation up front, because we don't want that turning around on us where we go, oh, that the offer didn't land very well, but they've just accepted, and that, because we don't want to be thinking someone's then going to go and continue interviewing and then take on another role once they've left the business. We want to make sure that you are happy with what you've got, and you've got what you need to survive, to live after you've left, because things will be slightly different, but we just want to make sure that you've got it. So that's what one of the points I was trying to articulate earlier, is make sure you know what you need when you leave, and make sure you know what kind of salary, benefits, all the rest of it is, and what means the most to you, so you can communicate it to us to make sure we're offering the right thing to you.
Brilliant. No, great advice, Dan. Question to Alex. So you're the technical compliance manager. So I think you described that as ensuring the asset data provided allows for planned maintenance. I mean, you put it much better than I can. It's just to keep the estate safe and legal. So can I ask, are you Mr. Process, or is it a bit more operational than that, the role, Alex?
It is pretty much process driven.
Yeah.
But I do get the opportunity to go out on site. So we've just taken on what used to be known as Welbeck College. It's now called Garrett's Hay. So it's an MOD estate. So I've gone out with a pen and paper and gone around the buildings, and just to verify the asset data that's been provided to us marries with what I believe should be on the asset register. So I work from home probably every day, bar one. I probably get out the office, out of home, should I say, once a month on average. But you know, I enjoy working from home. I used to be site-based, and there was no need for me to be site-based. And there are certain roles within the business that do allow you to work from home, which is a great benefit to some people. I do miss the camaraderie, but you can remain focused and
achieve a lot more. Alex.
Yeah, and achieve a lot more. Yeah.
So can I ask, who would be brilliant at your role, whether it's a rank or a particular discipline within the armed forces? Who would be really, really good at doing what you do?
Well, somebody who's got an engineering background, because what you need to understand is, I mean, when I joined the submarine service, I went around every single section within the submarine on the mechanical section. So we had four different mechanical sections. So one day I was maintaining a refrigeration plant. The next I was maintaining hydraulics, pneumatics, periscopes, steam, the nuclear plant, the diesels, you name it. So that gave me a real broad spectrum. We called ourselves master of jack of all trades, master of none. You know, not necessarily experts in a particular field, but we had a really good broad overview of everything within engineering. And I've taken that with me into Civvy Street, and I've built on that. So I now pick up a lot of the building and civil inspections we do. So we do hangar inspections and so forth. So anybody who's got airfield inspections, all the bulk fuel installations, I have to have an understanding of what we need to do to maintain all those. So if someone's got a really good broad engineering background, that is where you'd fit into my role.
Okay, fantastic. And the questions come in terms of just how do we get a job, I think is ultimately what the question's asking. Caroline, do you want everybody just to register their interest with you, and then you can filter it through either via Rachel or Dan?
Yeah, no, make sure you register. Yeah, make sure you're registered with BuildForce. We work really closely with Dan and Rachel, getting our boys and girls on site for work placement, or if you're at that point where you're just looking for a job opportunity, there's that as well. But also, we're working with so many other employers as well. So, if you're not a fit for VIVO, or VIVO isn't a fit for you, then you have the benefit of looking at other employers as well.
Okay, Dan, thank you for the response. That was fantastic. Jamie, any parting advice that you'd like to give our service leaver watching?
You've got a big advantage over the 90% of applicants who haven't wore uniform, because you've got what they've got. plus that military focused discipline thing, and you know the estate, that's valuable. So use that to your advantage.
Brilliant. Well, listen, thank you to Jamie, Rachel, Dan, Kenwyn and Alex for the incredible contribution today, and to the military community. What an incredible organisation VIVO Defence are. So leading the way in partnering with Defence and living their values, I think, as we've said today. But importantly, they're supportive of the military community through these work placements, the offering of courses and the wider career advice, and that all-important employment piece. And as Jamie says, your military magic is what is needed here. So you're not alone. BuildForce are here to help support you and guide you through your transition. So as we said, please get in touch. I'll pass back to Caroline for some final insights. But before I do, I'd like to extend our love and support to Caroline, because on Sunday, she is running the New Forest Marathon, commendably to raise awareness. Woo! Of our wellbeing and sports programme, Caroline. So we all send our love, the best of wishes. We're running it with you. We're running it with you from our couches. But best of luck on Sunday. I'll pass back to you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I think I need to reply to that. I'm hopefully. Oh, sorry, I thought I lost you there, Angie. Your comms dropped out, but thank you for that. And I think I just need to add, I'm hopefully running the New Forest Marathon. That's the plan. I will let you know when I've ran or walked 26 miles. It's going to be very, very, very hot, but I'll give it all I can. So I'd just like to give a final thank you. Really, I mean, VIVO is a new organisation, so it was really great. Jamie, I really loved your opening. To better understand that ethos and the values that VIVO comes with, and also to hear from Kenwyn that purple blood, and it may be a bit twee, but I personally, I love it. I think it's absolutely great and very important for our military audience that they know they've got a soft, nice, warm place to land, and that does sound like with you guys. So thank you very, very much. So just a few things coming up in our diary. We have our next virtual career chat on the 21st of September, focusing on the role of a site manager with alliance partners Strabag, is an HS2 joint venture, and Mace. And then do not forget, we have our face-to-face Armed Forces Insight Day in November, 2nd of November at St Thomas Centre in Manchester. It is not just Northwest opportunities. We will have 40 of our employers in the room, VIVO being one of them. There'll be contractors, consultancies, engineering, infrastructure, everything, you name it, they'll be there. It's a great opportunity to network, to better understand the wider sector and those skill sets and the roles that are on offer, and to just get closer to the employer, and we will be there to guide you through it. So don't forget to book in. And if you live in the New Forest, please come and cheer me on, because, oh my gosh, I am dreading it. I've loved the training, I've loved the journey, but I'm not really looking forward to the day. But it'll be good, and it's for a good cause, because everything I do is for our veterans, is at the heart of everything I do. So there's twee for you, Kenwyn, but I don't care either. So thank you everyone for listening. It is our first one of the season, and it's downhill slope to Christmas. Have a lovely sunny day.
Brilliant. Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you,
Bye.
VIVO. It was excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, bye.
Thanks, bye.